This is Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Ron Rohde, Kentucky Afield's first host back in 1953. Now, I'm proud to present Charlie Baglin.
I know because I have seen it with my own eyes. The latest, greatest, must-have archery equipment on the planet. It's not even in the stores yet. Outdoor marketing genius Brian Blank and I walked through the Archery Trade Show, the largest of its kind. It was held in January in Louisville, and we talked products, we talked with pros, Olympians, Hall of Famers, and more. All next as we go inside outdoors on Kentucky Afield Radio.
Kentucky's Nature and Wildlife Fund. You see it as a contribution option when you prepare your state tax return. But you also see it as songbirds and wildflowers. You can see it in clear, flowing streams. Sometimes it's so secluded you may never see it at all. But if you only see it on your PC as you prepare your taxes, that's good too. Google it and see the difference this fund makes. Kentucky's Nature and Wildlife Fund, the natural tax shelter.
Do you know a liar? What a child calls a fib, we call a chance to get a grip on a fishing rod. The perfect sport for stretching the truth. A 1-pound bass? No. A 10-pound bass you caught on every cast. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife says, take a phony fishing. Don't think you'll love it? Don't kid yourself. Kentucky Fishing, let it make a liar out of you. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglin, and the show today is about the Archery Trade Association Annual Trade Show. It was held in January in Louisville at the Exposition Center, and what it featured were some of the new and nifty things that anyone who loves archery or bow hunting can't live without, and you will soon see on retail shelves wherever you like to shop. I'm in the studio today with Brian Blank.
Pleasure to be here.
I asked you here because we were both at this archery exhibition. This was in the south wing of the Exhibition Center in Louisville. And it was in halls A, B, and C, and it went on for what looked like miles. It was a World's Fair of sorts. I'd never seen anything like it. Have you been to one of these in your past?
I think in tallying it up, that was my 12th ATA show.
I'm glad to hear you say that because you're no stranger to this. Now, granted, you work for state government, and you are in charge of marketing for everything, hunting, fishing, boating, as it applies to the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. But what's interesting about you is what's in your suitcase. A lot of real-world experience in the sporting goods industry. I can mention Dick's Sporting Goods, and that is a name of an organization that pretty much everybody on the planet has heard of.
That's correct. Yeah, when I was at Dick's, we had 296 stores, and I was responsible for buying an assortment of product that was regionally correct for every one of those stores. And then after I left Dick's, I stayed in the industry and worked for two different manufacturers, one a camo apparel manufacturer, and then on a little different side of the business, I worked for a kayak company doing sales and marketing. And we sold to all kinds of dealers, you know, Cabela's, Dick's, Bass Pro Shops, Gander Mountain, Academy Sports, Shields, you know, so on and so forth.
We're mentioning a lot of brand names and a lot of company names here, and you and I are getting no kickback whatsoever for any of this. Somebody's going to say, oh, you're talking about Plano tackle boxes. You must have gotten a new one. No, didn't get any of that. But I just want you to know we're here to talk about, sort of dissect, if you will, the Archery Trade Show and to tell you what's cool on the market. Wild game innovations. How long have trail cams been out there, Brian, that makes hunting a little easier to know where big buck is?
I would say about 12 to 15 years, and in the last 5 to 7 years, they've just exploded. Every year, there are technological advances in cameras. I
want to go to a conversation we had with a fellow named Major Person there at the ATA. Wild Game Innovations.
Yes, sir. Camera I got right here is the Wild Game Innovations LO8. It's part of our Crush Cam series of cameras. As you can see, it's got a Real Tree Extra camo, blackout technology, which means invisible IR flash,
A flash you can't see?
That's it.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
That's the coolest thing I've heard of yet.
Yep.
And is this your technology? Does this go back for generations?
Not generations, and not just our technology. It's a new technology in the camera industry, and a lot of people are gravitating towards the blackout technology. You don't have to worry about scaring the deer, and then also, like I said, security device around the house. This particular model, you do go to it, check it, pull the SD card, pop it in your computer or your camera, and see what's out there. Triggered by motion, or it's also got flex time technology that you can set it to go off every minute if you're just trying to survey a larger area.
Is this the latest, the top-of-the-line version?
This is the top of the line, but then we're coming out with a new technology for 2013. It's called the Cell 8. Takes the picture, sends it to your phone at the house. Say you can't decide what stand you want to go hunt, check your phone. Maybe you got a text from your camera telling you big boy's out there waiting.
When will that be released?
We're starting to ship those sometime in May or June.
Knowing what's out there is a plus.
Oh, definitely. Hunting's kind of changed. You know, it used to be you go out there and you scout, you look for the scrapes, and you still do that. But now you usually know what that deer looks like long before you've killed that deer, which is totally different than how it used to be back in the day.
We're back on Kentucky Afield Radio. I'm Charlie Baglin, and we're dissecting the Archery Trade Show, which was held in Louisville at the Exposition Center in January. Brian Blank is in the studio with me. Do you have one of these trail cams? What's that mean to a turkey hunter? What's that mean to a deer hunter coming up this year?
Yeah, actually, Charlie, I have 4. Trail cameras allow you to be in the field viewing what the game is doing on your land where you hunt or you view wildlife without you actually being there. It is tracking in a whole new way, and technology allows you to live in the Louisville area and scout your land in western Kentucky or eastern Kentucky. And so even though you're in Louisville, you could see every day at 4 o'clock that buck that you've been chasing is coming out of the woods into the bean field. So you don't have to be on your land to know that on Wednesday afternoon, you know what, I'm taking Thursday off of work and I'm driving from Louisville down to make sure I'm in my tree stand over that bean field.
I'm looking at you right now, and sitting right there on the counter in front of you are 2 cell phones and a laptop, and none of them are plugged in. And that's something that everybody today always has at least one thing in their pocket, if not a couple. Keeping them charged, though, is a little different story. And that's another one of the cool things we saw at the Archery Trade Association about how to keep this stuff powered up. Brunton is a corporation that has pretty much taken this to a new level. Danny Schaefer is somebody I'm glad that I had a chance to talk to.
Never be without power again. That's what we like to say. We have all kinds of cool little gadgets. These are our Brunton battery packs. So you take these, you charge them USB, or you can plug them in the cigarette lighter of your car or into the wall. Charge it up, throw it in your bag, take it with you. You get out in the field, wherever you're at. You need to charge your phone, your iPad, your iPod. Plug it in, push a button, and it's charging.
Now, solar power is nothing new.
No.
But it is at Brunton, and in a new way. How is it different here than, say, the lights that are out in front of your house that you bought at the big box store that come on at night? But yours is a level or 2 or 3 or 100 above that.
Yeah, about 100 above that. They are very lightweight. We're making all different panels from 6 watts up to 62 watts. They're so lightweight that you can take them, throw them in your pack. You take a solar panel and you take a battery pack, and you're good to go. It's going to get you through anything. You'll always have power. You'll never be without power again.
Everybody has something in their pocket, if not 2 or 3 things: a camera, a cell phone, a smartphone,
Yep.
laptop, a tablet.
Oh, geez. You can charge pretty much anything that you have a USB connection for. We have something that will charge it.
It's available now, and it's affordable now. And it's something you need now. Maybe 10 years ago you didn't.
Right, absolutely. And I say for the power pack that's great for charging phones, retails for $69. It is so worth $69 to me to buy this pack instead of sitting on the airport floor plugged into the wall because I got to use my phone and the battery's dead. Or being up in the mountains and needing to make a call to say, hey, you know what, I've got an elk, I need somebody to come help me pack this thing out,
Right.
and I don't have a battery on my cell phone.
Tell me about your warranty.
Absolutely. Our warranty is everything Brunton makes is indestructible. That means it's indestructible. Even if it's not, it's indestructible to you because you take it out, you break it, we will either fix it or replace it, and that's every single product Brunton makes. We are here to enhance your outdoor experience, whether it's going to a soccer game, going hunting, going up in the mountains, no matter what your outdoor experience is, we want to enhance that.
Where can they find out more?
They can find out more at www.bruntongroup.com.
BruntonGroup.com.
Yeah.
Brian, we're up against a break. We will be back to talk a little bit more about some of the nifty things we found at the Archery Trade Show in January that you're going to be seeing probably as soon as this spring and summer on your store shelves. I'm Charlie Baglin, and you are listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. Charlie Baglin in today with Brian Blank, who is an outdoor marketing expert, if I have ever met one. He works with state government. He has also spent a career with the big box stores, Dick's Sporting Goods among them, and knows what people like to buy and what they're going to need when they're in the outdoors, if that's hunting, fishing, boating. Today we're talking more bow hunting because we have been recently to Louisville to the Archery Trade Show there, which was quite the event that you weren't invited to and you may not have even heard about it. I had something here that I'd taken out of a press release. The ATA show is the archery and bow hunting industry's largest show, and this was a monster. It's the industry's most inclusive show.
Yeah, that would be media, retailers, distributors, manufacturers, so it's all encompassing, and it's all under one roof. It's
member driven, and it is to promote commerce within the archery and bow hunting industry. The show is closed to the public. This is a order writing event. I was there, you were there, and what we saw when people were looking around wasn't me looking for a new bow or bow case. It was somebody looking to buy not one of these things, but maybe 1,000 of these to stock their shelves. We have interviews this hour on this edition of Kentucky Afield Radio from an Olympic archer who brought home a silver medal. We are talking to people from various companies within the archery industry. We have an interesting conversation next half hour with the Archery Hall of Fame executive director. I mean, it's all fascinating. The people that go to this don't just wander in off the street. Chances are their life is archery. And it is impressive to see the innovations, the creativity, the marketing that comes with this. Are you a bow hunter?
I am a bow hunter, and I also enjoy going out and watching kids compete in NASP and watching our community archery programs as they develop, and there's more and more facilities being built around the state because archery is becoming mainstream, just like soccer and baseball and basketball.
And we can thank Hunger Games for part of that, the Disney movie Brave. I've got a question written down here. What was your favorite product that you saw? Was there something new and different, or something new and improved?
It's like if you want to buy a car, you go to CarMax, you can drive any kind of car that you want before you buy it. At the ATA show, dealers and those of us fortunate enough to get in there are able to test everybody's bow and see which one's the most comfortable and which one we might want to purchase.
And these aren't just bows off the rack. These are the newest, the best, the most innovative. This is what their new line is.
And again, because it's a trade show, it is people that are passionate and care about the sport.
And one name that comes up that we all remember, Plano. And they made tackle boxes. They make protective cases. But I never really gave it much thought. I'll see that name on my tackle box. But when you sit down and you talk to these people about what it means to grow up using the product and then become involved in the marketing of this, Sean Wheatley is the marketing manager for Plano. And we had an interesting conversation. Take a listen. It appears you have a lot of customers.
We do have a lot of customers. Plano started as a tackle box company back in 1952. Made our first plastic tackle box, and we've been making classic sporting goods products ever since then. So we're well known for tackle.
you don't make bows, you don't make arrows, you make the cases they go in.
Correct. We're an organization and storage company, and our tagline is protect your passion. So if your passion is hunting and fishing and everything that goes along with that, it's not only protecting the products that we sell or the products that you own, but also the resources and everything that go along with that.
I will walk into a National Archery in the Schools tournament, and there could be 5,000 kids there, and I will trip over your products. That has to make you feel good.
That's right. When you see a whole team of kids carrying around a Plano bow case, one, that those bows are protected, and two, that they trust your product. When a whole team's going to buy all the same cases because they know that they fit the product and they work well for it.
Did you have experience? Did Plano cross your path early on?
Right, of course. This happens. I hear these stories all the time where a parent would have a tackle box, or a grandparent would have a tackle box, and the kids grow up using those tackle boxes, and it's always been a Plano tackle box. So yeah, I had the same experience. The tackle box that I had was a Plano, and my dad had, and my grandfather as well.
Everybody loves Plano. I'm in the studio with Brian Blank, who is a marketer of everything outdoors, such as hunting, fishing, boating. If you do it, he's done it and has helped market the products we used to do it. Brian, here's one thing. Statistics have to be a big part of this. This was going on in January. How is the year, the sales year, broken down for some of these products that we buy?
What you see in the archery industry is fourth quarter, which is, October, November, December. That's when a lot of the bow companies launch their new products.
Is that because Christmas, the buying season?
Yeah, it's because of Christmas, and it's because, you're out there with your buddies and you're bow hunting and you're shooting your bow that you've had for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And when one of your buddies comes out with that brand new Bowtech or that brand new Hoyt, it's, wow, oh man, maybe I need to start thinking about getting one. But maybe my budget's a little tight, but maybe if I put the word out enough, some kind person will buy me one for Christmas or help offset my cost to get one for Christmas. So the bow manufacturers launch a lot of products in the fourth quarter or the fall season. Your accessory companies, your sights, your rest, your string silencers, your stabilizers, those people follow suit because fourth quarter, guys are buying new bows, so maybe that's usually a good time when they launch, a lot of the archery accessories.
We're talking about the Archery Trade Show that was held in January in Louisville, and this isn't just for bow stores in this area. This is a nationwide, dare I say, worldwide. This thing was new. I've got some figures here. The total verified attendees, 8,253. That's a bunch of people there, and that's 8,000 people that are going there to buy a bunch of stuff. Now, they're going to place some grand orders. So that's 8,000 people there. The number of exhibitors, 531. International companies attending this, 127. And I have here a number of individuals, 311. People that are associated with the archery industry, have something to bring to it or to a related side of the archery industry. And one of these, because I've seen you watching this fellow's videos on your computer, is Grant Woods.
And Grant was the first individual out there to break with tradition and not go through a television network like the Outdoor Channel or Sportsman's Channel. He built his business plan around delivering it in your inbox, and you view it on your computer.
And he was there. We talked to him. Take a listen to what Grant Woods has to say from growingdeer.tv.
I research or work with deer primarily, so I'm here to help people grow better deer.
Grow better deer. Mm-hmm. That sounds like habitat improvement.
A lot of habitat work, age structure, conception dates, all the stuff that's boring. People just want big antlers. And I like big antlers too, but we start with fawns and work from there on up.
The way you get your message out, I have a feeling, isn't here at the Archery Trade Show. It's one way. But you get your message out how?
The primary way is Growing Deer TV, just a weekly webisode free. It's online. You can go anytime you want, 24/7. Just growingdeer.tv and see what we're doing that week. We're always real time, and now what we show you was filmed within 5 days before that.
Really?
Every week. 52 weeks out of the year. For 3 years, we've never missed a Monday morning.
Your growingdeer.tv, you wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't reaching the people it was supposed to reach.
Well, we think so. We have sponsors. We're compensated that way, so they didn't charge you anything, but we don't just do sponsors. I mean, when we're doing prescribed fire, we burn, we plant, we squirrel hunt. We're doing whatever we do that week. So I don't have a schedule. I don't know what the episode will be next week when I leave here, literally. Because I don't know if it'll be snowing or I can finish. Bow season in Missouri goes through January 15th. Maybe I'll get a little hunting in. I don't know what we'll be doing based on the weather. I never know any week. I never know.
The tag on your card here says you're from Missouri.
Branson, Missouri. Everyone's heard of Branson, Missouri. I'm just a couple miles out of Branson, Missouri.
So is your programming unique to the Midwest or the Southern Midwest? Or
I try not to travel much anymore, so we do film a lot on the land where I live, but we film a lot in Kentucky. For example, I have a good friend that owns a place in western Kentucky, and he allows us to hunt there and plant food plots there, so we film a lot of episodes right in Kentucky.
In Kentucky, Brian, that gives it a down-home touch. That website, again, is growingdeer.tv. This is Kentucky Afield Radio, and we're having fun by taking a look at all things archery. And there's a new website out there that you were telling me about as we were listening to that piece. What was that again?
Archerytime.com, and it's all things archery, so anyone out there that has any level of interest or child who shoots NASP or has been involved in explore bow hunting or you just want to know what's going on out there, whether it's from a company's new products or a state agency's hunting seasons, regulations, or you just want to get on there and chat, archerytime.com is a one-stop shop for all of us to go and visit and hang out with like-minded people.
Meanwhile, we got to get to a break. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglin, and March 1st ushers in a new license year. We have a panel discussion next week about licenses. It's good to know what you need to know before you go, and you will next week. Right now, it's our fishing report.
This is Jeff Crosby with the Central District Fishing Report. This is a great time of year to get a lot of your maintenance done on your fishing equipment. Also, people are still catching quite a few sauger on many of our rivers in the area, especially Ohio River and Kentucky rivers. McAlpin and Markham-Locken dams are a very good area this time of year for sauger anglers. Try live minnows and also a variety of jigs and spoons to catch these fish. Please be careful when fishing in these areas and observe all boating regulations when fishing below these locks and dams. Trout are being stocked into many of our Fins lakes throughout the area. This could provide an excellent opportunity for one to catch a few trout this time of year. Please check our website at fw.ky.gov for those Fins lakes in your area. Good luck, good fishing, and hope to see you on the water.
Hi, this is John Williams with Fishing Report for Southeast Kentucky at Lake Cumberland. Got reports of striped bass being caught up in the major creeks, really from the upper lake to the lower lake. Just go about halfway up one of the major tributaries. Fish are anywhere from just under the surface down to, say, 35 feet. A lot are being caught trolling umbrella rigs with curly-tailed grubs or doll flies, usually white or chartreuse. So that's been productive. Also, this time of year, walleye will be running up the major tributaries on Lake Cumberland, up the Big South Fork and up the Cumberland River. Jigs and minnows are the best bet there. Also, sauger will be stacking up below Wolf Creek Dam. Jigs and minnows usually a good bet there also. Finally, in the district, we've stocked trout in our Fins Lake over in Knox County, Brickyard Ponds. Also, Cedar Creek Lake has been stocked this month with trout. Those can be caught on a variety of baits, including inline spinners. And as always, be safe when you're out there in the cold weather. Good luck fishing.
This is Jeremy Shipley with the Fishing Update from Northwest Kentucky. Anglers are catching sauger and an occasional walleye below locks and dams on both the Green and Ohio rivers. Bright-colored jigs alone and in combination with minnows seem to be working best on cloudy days. At Rough River Lake, crappie are biting well above North Fork Ramp and in the Little Clifty Creek area of South Fork. The lake is at 470, which is 5 feet lower than usual, so anglers with larger boats may only be able to launch at the State Marina. Smaller John boats can still be put in at North Fork. Anglers should use caution as the lake will look very different to most since it has not been down to true winter pool in 10 years. There are lots of trout to catch in the district. Fish were recently stocked on Peabody WMA, in the Fens Lakes in Owensboro and Madisonville. Trout can be finicky, but can be caught on small spinnerbaits, spoons, jigs, night crawlers. Keep trying different baits and colors until you find the one working at that time. Good luck and be safe.
This is Kentucky Afield Radio. I am Charlie Baglin. At the Archery Trade Show in Louisville, I met a young man who can teach us a thing or two about buffalo wings. He is a silver medalist from the Olympic Summer Games that just ended in London in the field of archery, but he is also shooting us pretty straight when he talks chicken wings. Jake Kaminsky, still to come later in the show. More in a minute as we go inside outdoors on Kentucky Afield Radio.
I never knew I had an artistic flair until my best friend put a paintbrush in my hand.
More people are finding hidden interest because someone first took an interest in them.
Most of my groceries come from my garden. My neighbor taught me how.
If you're a sportsman or a sportswoman, who's the hidden hunter in your life? Asking someone to come along just might create lifelong interest.
It'll be a great trip. Got your camo?
Take aim on sharing a tradition.
Got it.
After all, someone did it for you. Google Kentucky Hunting to learn more. My fun budget this summer is $10 a day.
Ooh, big spender.
Then it hit me.
Uh-oh.
Include the family. This summer, we all have different roads we want to travel.
Ooh, travel.
And we're putting fishing on that list, too. And it turns out, I over-budgeted. A Kentucky fishing license costs about $0.05 a day. And kids are free.
I married a saver.
You married a keeper. This summer, catch some family fun. Google Kentucky Fishing to learn more. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglin. I am in the studio today with Brian Blank. How to say it, Brian? You're a marketer. You are in sales. You have been in the business of promotion of pretty much everything outdoors. For hunting, fishing, you've had your hand in this pie for a lot of years.
I've been very fortunate because every morning when I wake up, I get to go to a job and get paid for something I would do anyway and something that I love.
You live it, you breathe it. If you went out for pizza with somebody, I guarantee you would be talking it. I'm glad to have you here because what you can do is show me something that I am missing when we were both at the same event, the Archery Trade Show, which was held in Louisville in January, and there was an entire south wing. This was huge. When I go out and buy a bow, I know that X% of that helps to fund conservation across the nation and my state. How does that work?
Many of our listeners may not know that when they buy arrows and they buy a bow and there's some other equipment that falls under the federal excise tax, they are actually contributing to conservation, and that's been happening for 75 years now. It's one of the most successful business models in terms of combining state agencies, the feds, the consumer, and then the industry folks, the manufacturers. So, for example, a bow manufacturer every quarter pays an 11% excise tax on the bows that they produce, and then it's redistributed to the states based on a number of criteria, but the main one is how many hunting licenses each state sells. So every time you buy a bow and every time you buy a set of arrows, you should feel good because there's matching funds that match when you go and turn around and buy a hunting license.
And it's that money that is collected from the purchase of sporting equipment, such as archery equipment, that is redistributed to states around the nation to fund conservation programs for fish and wildlife. So that is a good thing.
It makes a big difference if you would buy a hunting license, because that means we get more of that excise tax funding.
We're talking about the Archery Trade Show that was held in Louisville, and I can liken this to something probably everybody has heard of, the Consumer Electronics Show. Everywhere you turn, there's another booth with something nifty that you didn't know you needed, and now you don't want to live without it. And it's pretty much the same way with archery, and we're talking archery in this case, not because we live and die archery, but because it was in Louisville. And normally it's like next year it's in Nashville. It's where is it held? Indianapolis and Columbus, Ohio, and it'll move around. But we have the joy of having it and be able to go there and see the world of archery right there in one building.
Kudos to our state and the Convention Center and Visitors Bureau folks over at Louisville for bringing that show here, because it generates a lot of revenue for the Louisville metro area and for the state.
Bowhunter.com has an interesting quote. Waiting for the archery trade show each January is like waiting for Christmas morning. Eager anticipation builds as bow hunters everywhere wait to see what presents are left under the tree. We're talking about people that are related to the archery industry, not just manufacturers, not just the brand names. There are people there. I mentioned Hoyt, Bear Archery. Now, both of those are Archery Hall of Famers. They have a lifetime of archery history behind that name. Maybe you just know it as a Hoyt bow. But what you don't know, and you look up the word Hoyt, just what all that person did. And I had a chance. I talked to Diane Miller, who is the executive director of the Archery Hall of Fame. Interesting conversation. How long has the Hall of Fame itself for archery been with us?
Since 1972.
Do you remember the first person inducted to the Archery Hall?
I do. It was Fred Bear.
Fred Bear, Bear Archery.
Bear Archery. The first class consisted of 6 people, actually maybe 7. Fred Bear, Howard Hill, Russ Hoogerhide, Ann Weber Hoyt, Carl Palmatier, Ben Pearson, and Maurice Thompson.
Some of those names will stick out as brand names today.
Yes, they definitely do. Hoyt, Pearson, Bear.
And what does an archer need to do to be considered for induction?
They have to meet a criteria of so many years involved in the sport. They can go in as a competitor, a bow hunter, somebody who has had influence on the sport, and a coach. So they can go into any of those categories, but they have to have an accumulative amount of years, which is like 40. So it's a lot.
40 years.
It's a lot. Now, that can be 10 years as a coach, 10 years as a competitor, 10 years. So maybe they were only in archery 10 years, but they were in all those different categories.
So they don't have to win a tournament with 60 X's to be even considered.
No. Many had not won any tournaments.
But cumulatively, what they have brought to the sport has changed the sport.
Absolutely, yes.
But for example, if you want to talk about Fred Bear's contribution or any of your favorites, what have they done that you still see examples of in archery today?
Well, I mean, Fred is a good example because even people who know nothing about archery know the name Fred Bear, which is really neat. They were the beginning of what you do see today. And you still see Bear, and many of these companies are still in existence, maybe owned by different people, but they still have the name, and the name brings a lot.
What do you see in archery today that makes you think that person could be in the hall one day?
What we want is the cream of the crop and the best of the best. And it has to affect archery globally. There may be somebody who is a fabulous archer and has many trophies, but they're only in a region. And that, they're wonderful, but they just don't qualify for the Hall of Fame. Most of the people who are in the Hall, we only have 16 living people left, out of 72. So naturally, they're not young when they get in the Hall.
So what advice can you give to an archer?
Everybody in this sport is important, and you have to make sure they feel that. Some people think they're above, and so they alienate some, and you can't do that.
You wish them
the best, absolutely. You'll get a lot farther that way.
The Archery Hall of Fame. The very first inductee that Diane mentioned was Fred Bear.
And Fred Bear is to archery what Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle are to baseball. I mean, a lot of us get chills when you just say Fred Bear.
And I see you just got a chill.
I did.
I can talk about bow magazines, archery magazines. There's one you may be familiar with who pays particular attention to the National Archery in the Schools program. It's the U.S. and International Archer magazine. Familiar?
Yes.
I was talking to a lady that I have known because I've seen her on the NASP, National and World Circuits, and she set a record back in 1978 that she tells me still stands to this day for women archers. She shot, well, I tell you what, I've got the interview. Arlene Rohde You've been in this business for a while. You're a lifetime archer. How far back does it go?
Well, I started with my boyfriend in Minnesota in like 1954 when I was a senior in high school, and I've shot arrows every year since, almost 60 years.
I'll call you the editor-in-chief of U.S. and International Archer magazine.
We cover all target archery, everything from the Olympics to 3D and all over the world.
Plus, you hold a world record. 1978, what is this world record that still stands today?
Well, we shot it on the Salt Flats in Utah, and like I said, I shot mine with my feet. Instead of having a place for your hand to hold the bow, I'd have a stirrup on each side of the bow, and we actually shoot right through the center of the bow because it's made with a hole in the middle, and then they're recurved limbs actually, and I believe that it was a 101-pound bow that I shot that distant arrow.
So again, the distance, as you recall, it was what?
1,113 yards. And there's a few inches, but I don't remember.
It's 11 football fields.
Never thought of it.
That's a long way when you put it in that context.
It sure is. Well,
didn't someone else come along to try to beat you, or was this a competition?
Well, it was a competition, but nobody else competed in that class, even for the women. At that time, the men hadn't shot that far. Of course, I don't think I could do it anymore.
So are you saying that the record still stands?
Oh, yes. Nobody has even challenged it.
I think it's out of respect for the great Arlene Rohde.
I know. Somebody will come along and say, oh, I can do better.
Arlene Rohde, I tell you, Brian, she's a hero of mine. Just in knowing her as I do, and meeting and talking with her incidentally and at the National Archery in the Schools tournaments, a fine lady of archery, and I am impressed. Before we run out of time in this segment, let me ask you this question. April 13th, coming up in Kentucky, starts our spring turkey season. We'll have a few archers involved in that. What did you see at the Archery Trade Show that you're going to want to take with you in the field come April 13th?
I really like the Rage broadhead that you can use. Obviously, Carbon Express was there. I like their arrows when I'm out turkey hunting. So, you know, it's funny with turkey season. I get as excited about calling in a long beard as I do taking my new equipment out and playing with it.
It's toys. They make life worth living. They are just absolutely fun. Brian, coming up in our next segment, we need to talk a little bit about how youth is driving archery sales in this country. It's amazing. I've got an Olympian, U.S. Olympian, that just came back from London, England with a silver medal. We'll be back with more as we wrap it up with Brian Blank and myself. I'm Charlie Baglin on Kentucky Afield Radio. We're back with our final segment on Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglin. In the studio with me is Brian Blank, who is an outdoor marketer of things such as hunting and fishing equipment, has been for a good many years, also works with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, heads their public affairs division. So, Brian, I'm glad you're here. You bring a lot of knowledge to this. You've been doing this how long now? And what I'm hoping you'll say is since I was a kid.
Put the first bow in my hand when I was 8 or 9 years old, like a lot of kids.
So when you were 8 or 9, was that half the kids in your school or maybe a handful or what?
No, that was an uncle that hunted and gave me a junior Fred Bear style bow. My parents' direction was, whatever you do, don't shoot any of the neighbors' cats.
Archery has come a long way. There are kids, you can see them by the thousands in Louisville every May coming up. 7,000 or 8,000 of them are competing. It is absolutely amazing what the youth market is doing for archery. I talked with Rob Caulfield, Lancaster Archery Supply. Interesting to hear what he says is driving the archery industry today. The archery supply business can't be exciting to the typical housewife, but to their kids, I bet you they put out the demand like you have never seen before these days, do they?
We're in an era of unprecedented growth for youth and target archery, and it's fueled by the NASP program that started in Kentucky, and it's also, and that's nationwide, not just in Kentucky, that we're seeing NASP have an effect. And then also the media, movies like Hunger Games, Brave, Avengers, and Revolution on TV, the various, Hollywood is definitely taking a notice to our sport. But I don't think we've even begun to see the ceiling yet as far as the interest of youth in archery. We have Hunger Games movies coming in November of the next 3 years. There's quite a few TV series and additional movies that feature archery that are in the works. So I think we've got at least 3 years of additional unprecedented growth.
When did you start seeing growth start?
It was almost like a light switch turned on, and it was just probably a week or two before the Hunger Games movie, as all the movie hype was cranking up for the movie debut. We started to get phone calls, and we started to get a definite feeling that this was going to be different. Kids are driving it. Where archery looks cool, it doesn't have the danger and the stigma that firearms do. Once a kid tries it, the archery bug bites. Parents then take a hold of it, and they realize that shooting target archery is extremely safe, and it is something that instills life lessons. There's a lot of analogies to just parallel life in shooting a bow and an arrow, and the connection with your concentration, your inner self, poise, balance, the discipline that it takes to practice or to shoot arrows and shoot well. It's a terrific sport for young people.
Rob definitely has his finger on the pulse of what's going on out there.
If you love archery, anything that's related to it was represented at this show in Louisville. Now, granted, it was closed to the public, but what was there and the buyers that were there placing the orders to fill the shelves at Dick's Sporting Goods, or the Walmart, Kmart, or the local archery shop in your hometown were there, and what we saw will be affecting you. That could be the next time you go to the store to shop. Also at the trade show, they were set up pretty close to where you were, near the Hoyt exhibit, where the JOAD group, now this was the Olympic archers who just had gotten back from the games in London, England, brought home a silver medal.
We were not expected at all to be close to medaling. You could, for the first time, observe that the Koreans, with facial expressions and body language, it had an impact on them. It really put the pressure on them, and they were shocked and surprised. The Koreans just dominate at that level, and I was fortunate enough to talk to a couple folks that were actually there. I still get goosebumps when we talk about what Jake accomplished.
Listen to this interview with Jake Kaminsky, Olympic archer. Where are you from?
Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo, New York. What's the name of the restaurant where originally the buffalo wings were served?
The Anchor Bar.
The Anchor Bar. I've been there.
Yeah, it's good place.
What do you think of their wings?
Absolutely no wing compares to the actual buffalo wing. In Buffalo, they don't call them buffalo wings. They're just called wings.
And they're just wings?
Yeah, just wings. Nothing compares, that's for sure.
Now, we didn't set out to talk about wings, but rather archery.
Yeah.
You're a young man. How old are you?
I'm 24.
You started young.
First arrow I shot was when I was 6 years old, and I started shooting compound.
You've done well. So the Olympic Games where you won the silver medal, that was a team medal?
Yes, sir. The games were held in London, England.
What's the secret for anybody who's 10 years old or 50 who wants to be a better archer?
Just hard work, dedication, just like anything else. If you want it, you can put your mind to it and achieve it.
How many hours of practice a day?
In a day, probably between 8 and 10 hours, give or take. So if I had to guess, over the last 6 years, which I've been shooting professionally, just for this single moment for the Olympic Games, I shot over 470,000 arrows from my math.
If we put that in other terms, like let's say Tiger Woods, for example, that may practice 8 or 10 hours a day to improve his score by one stroke, which may win the U.S. Open. Is that similar to how you look at it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our difference between a silver medal and a gold medal was literally less than a quarter of an inch, and that is over 77 yards away. So that micro error there is just a difference between first and second. So yeah, of course, all those hours are for one little point, one little inch.
In 4 years, where are the games going to be held?
In Rio and Brazil.
And do you anticipate being there?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to go for as many Olympics as I possibly can. This sport, you can go and do it for several years. 4, 5, 6 Olympics isn't out of the question.
Jake, congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Silver medal. That's good. I'm proud of the boys for what they have brought home to the good old USA. We're about out of time. Brian Blank is with me. I'm Charlie Baglin. We have been talking a lot about the Archery Trade Show. What's a good place to go, Brian, for anybody wanting to know more about products or services as it relates to archery?
Archerytime.com is real good.
If you're excited about archery in your life, you will be excited about what's coming onto the market this year. Brian, thanks for being my guest. Before you go, I have one last question. Do you text and drive?
Do I text and drive? No.
That's the closest to a yes I've gotten, but it was still a no. Next week, in-state, out-of-state hunting licenses, fishing licenses. If it's in your pocket, it expires March 1st, and you will need a new one. I am Charlie Baglin, and we will go inside outdoors to see what's shaking on the subject next week on Kentucky Afield Radio.